us all the way from Norway today.
Thank you.
And hello and welcome to everyone also who's here. So as you know, we're a branch of the International Light Association, the Australasian Light Association, and this is one of our monthly webinars. We're committed to bringing a new webinar to you every month. And so please let me introduce Anne to you all. So Anne Iversen runs an acupuncture and light therapy clinic in Oslo, Norway, where she works using colours with Nogier frequencies learnt by Dr. Raphael Nogier himself. Using Microlight, Theralight and other frequency-based therapeutic tools, Anne helps her clients with a wide array of different health conditions. Anne has a specific interest, though, in treating and working with children, making use of colour and frequency-based therapy to lateralise brain hemispheres with highly successful results. So that's very interesting. I can't wait to hear about that. And today, Anne will be discussing how light therapy can be used to help children, especially with ADD and ADHD, and she'll be including light and frequency treatments, lateralising the brain hemispheres, and coaching from the heart. So, Anne, I'm going to pass it over to you, and thank you once again so much for doing this webinar.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure, and I'm really great to be here. As you said, I'm working in Oslo in Norway, where I have my own clinic, and I warmly wish you welcome to my lecture in this lecture here. I had a pilot study in 2019 for the International Light Association in Croatia, and I will use some of my time doing telling a little about the research I did at that time. I also have an insight of thinking and coaching and lifting vulnerable people, and I think young children and young grown-ups are really vulnerable at so many issues. So I hope to follow you. And also I have a very new study I started last week with 8 young children or young ladies that I will tell you about later. So I will start now. There it is. So how I see the sensitive child, the sensitive teenager and the sensitive young adult all behind the mask that I call it, and how to make them shine, that is for myself a big deal to do. And I made this lecture into 5 sections in this lecture. I will shortly tell my story because I think it's why I'm so certain about young people, and also about my pilot study for the Croatia, and also talking about a little bit the corpus callosum and the limbic system, why I use the lighting coaching as important tools, and also a little bit on the end with the new project I'm working with. My story is that I have always been feeling different from the very, very beginning. In fact, I wasn't planned at all. I was expected to be a boy, and I entered a girl. And what you can see from the pictures, I was knitted for a boy, and I felt really different all the time in my family. I felt, in fact, not normal. I felt so extremely sensitive to everything around me, and that was to energies and to people, and I was very aware of all moods around me. And also I was so aware of animals. I loved animals, and I found my dogs as a big comfort together with horses, and also nature and flowers. And in fact, I had always had a voice in my right ear who tells me things that will happen and how to listen to my inner self, which of course is not always very easy. So who am I today? Today, I have been married with my husband for 42 years. We have three grown-up children, and I'm a grandmother of 3 beautiful souls, and 1 more coming in May. I'm an educated teacher in the bottom, as I used to say, and I worked in school for 5 years. Then I educated to acupuncture in 2002, and I jumped on posturology and auricular medicine very, very soon, because I heard about it and I thought it was amazing tools to use. So I've always been using that. I have had my clinic now for 19 years in the heart of Oslo, and for the 12 last years I've been working very much with young people and young children, because I love to see them rise and shine after having bad times. And also I do a coaching by Robin Smardanes, which I call a coaching by heart. I always want to tell you that I've been 12 years ago, I met my Buddhist nun and the great spiritual teacher, Venerable Meiji, the founder of the beautiful monastery in Satira Dhammasattan in Bangkok. She has been a really good spiritual teacher for me, and I have been working in her monastery many times with webinars, with lectures, and I also made a 1 week journey to Phuket with her, where we were visiting prisons and we were visiting schools and had big happenings there. And also in September 2018, she came here and she had 10 days in my house, and we had a beautiful time together. And she means really a lot to me, and also in my work and in my heart. So these are my 3 favorites. That is Dr. Michel Marignan and Nogier, and also Daniela C, who is a doctor with trauma training. Beautiful person. So my vision, we must teach our children to dream with their open eyes. And that is what Meiji is telling in every speech. We have to live our life with open eyes. It's really important, no matter what. And I think to see so many young people today find themselves hiding because they not feel good enough, that is really bad to see. And also how they are feeling so trapped in themselves and in their heart. And so I think, how is it that I so much want to help them out of their prison? And I think that's because I have felt this the same for me myself so many years. All too many children freeze their heart and shut their heart for themselves to all people around them, and of course to themselves. And also they freeze their heart, they feel trapped in a prison in a way, and that's too bad. So if you can imagine to please sit still just for a second, and if you can think of this old radio, which is quite as old as me, and if you can imagine not finding the right frequency, how it would make you feel in your head if you have this noise all the time in your head. The feelings of being worthless, bad, dumb and lazy, the feeling of want to hide yourself all the time, the feeling of frustration and anger because everyone doesn't understand you, and the feeling of worrying all the time, getting so many stimulus into your head and not managing to separate them and answer them. The children, they have so much noise in their head and they make big problems, and all too many things inside their head makes them not manage to sort out and also remember what is being said. Therefore, the child has difficulties in answering them and remember, because all of the noise in their head are there all the time. And nearly all the children with ADHD in my clinic say they have this problem and get really upset about it because they don't manage to hear what they should hear. So ADHD in Norway and medicines. I'm not against medicines, just to say that, but I think it's crazy. It's estimated that we have 3 to 5% of the children in Norway that suffers from ADHD, ADD, and that's quite many. And in 2017 in Norway, there was sold about 20.3 million ADHD daily doses of medicines, and the price of that was 350 million Norwegian crowns. Taking medicines as Ritalin may cause anxiety, suicidal emotions, depression and sleeping problems, irritability, etc. And also they have been talking about heart problems that have been discussed when taking these medicines. Often, I think, and I've seen in my clinic, that they also get into trouble with other persons and later get easier into criminality and drugs, as they often have laterality problems, cognitive skill problems that also complicate their education. And for some of my friends that are lawyers, they said that very many of their prisoners, they have ADHD in the bottom. But so I think, do all these children that are going on medicines, do they all have these diagnoses? I'm not so sure. So Ritalin is a CNS stimulant medicine, and you can see, I mentioned a little thing that I told you, that it really forces the pupils the children to calm down and fit in, having control, but it also dim them, and the medicines dim their light, and I think that's very, very sad. On the other hand, as I said, I know some people must have it. So keywords for ADHD and also ADD is the inability to concentrate with poor concentration and forgetfulness. Restlessness, noisy and clumsy. They are really clumsy, many of them. And they talk a lot, often with a big, loud voice, and are really impatient. They are curious, often beyond normal. They are often the clown in the classroom, and you can see their eyes darting all over the room. And what I have experienced in my clinic, that some of them also have black in their eyes, and also not shining. The eyes seems dull and foggy. The difficulty maintaining eye contact is really there for many of them. And they feel so into other people's things all the time, very irritating, and they are physically active. They have difficulty getting to sleep, they have insomnia, and also they have much vivid dreams. They wake up frightened and with big anxiety. And very often they have speech difficulties, also coordination problems. But they are game players, they are great game players, and they also feel very, very powerful with the Fortnite, for example, because they feel they're getting friends, and many of them are really good in English because the display here is in English. And as an acupuncturist, you can see the tongue is often red or swollen, and they often have red lips. So very sensitive people. And children who are so-called difficult, aggressive, naughty, and often diagnosed with ADHD, ADD, autism, and other diagnoses. I think to myself, are they all that? Because maybe, why about looking into how they feel inside their heads and make a change from the inside? We'll look at that soon. And the keyword, the brain. I love the brain. So when the brain hemispheres works together, we will see most of these children as very strong, sensitive, intelligent, kind and caring, creative and inventive, curious and smart, very energetic and gifted, thinking very positive. They are solution-oriented, very practical, and they are so brave, afraid of nearly nothing. So I think that is quite good words for an ADHD. In my pilot study in 2019, where I had 20 children, young people, from 5 to 24 years, I had 12 boys, 8 ADHD, 1 autism, 1 ADD, 1 anxiety, frontal cortex problems boy, and also one sensitive, dyslexia, and with great strengths problems. I had 8 girls, 3 ADHD, 3 ADD, 2 dyslexia, and big anger. They had 15 treatments during 4 months. I meant they should have 2 months, but you know, people have no time to come, so it went out to 4 months, which I think maybe was good in a way. So each treatment was for 60 minutes in lights, including talking with them and coaching, and I will come back to this later. As you see, I used 3 colors, red, green, and magenta, and I will tell you why afterwards. So our fantastic tool in colors, chromotherapy. And what is chromotherapy? Chromotherapy is the sequence of using colors to adjust body vibrations to frequencies that result in health and harmony inside the body. Each color possesses frequencies of a specific vibration, and each vibration is related to different physical symptoms. Our bodies need the sun's light to live and survive, and therefore light in many ways is a beautiful tool as medicine. For me, the Theralight and the DB machine has been my very, very close friends from the very beginning. And what they do about the light is that photons are particles with specialized characteristics. Photons always move with the constant speed of the speed of light. On cell level, LATCO biophotons may disturb so that these enters the body. Disease can be seen as a result of disturbances on a cellular level to distort the cell's quantum perspective. This causes electrons to become weak, and protein molecules and metabolic processes became derailed as a result. Once cellular metabolism is compromised, the cell becomes isolated from the process of natural growth control. By adding light, the cell may immediately react and try to get into normal again, and it seems that the cell works better together with light. And this I see so much in my clinic, and the people feel that something is happening nearly every day. So the photon is an elementary particle with a piece of energy and the force carrier for the electromagnetic force. When the light strikes a cell, a certain portion of it is absorbed within the semiconductor material. That means that the energy, when the light strikes the cell, a certain portion of it is absorbed within the semiconductor material. The energy of the absorbed light is transferred to the semiconductor, and the energy knocks electrons loose, allowing them to flow freely. So you can see this is a house meant to be the brain with a left and right hemisphere. And this brain of ours, it has to exercise, as you can see down on the right. So what is lateralizing the brain, and how can you do it, and what is it? Yes, it is balancing the brain. The brain, treating the corpus callosum is the brain beam, and I call it the joker in the brain because very few talks about it. And it's really, really important in my work for my children and young people, and also grown-ups, of course. The corpus callosum consists of 200 million axons that all the time are going to interconnect with the 2 hemispheres between them. And the primary function of the corpus callosum is to integrate motor, sensory, and cognitive performances between the cerebral cortex on one side to the brain and to the region on the other side. So it is really important for us when we have difficulties, because when we have difficulties, it's not cooperating at a high level, and then we get all these problems that, of course, the children have that I'm working with. So as you see, I have the DB165 on the left side, which is my big friend in my clinic. And it's a super machine to balance the brain. I use it on the front cortex here, and the light, you can see the light here, I'm using both knots, and I'm working with this on here. And what that does for me, at least I found in my clinic, it balances the brain and also the body. So when you put light on this corpus callosum, it balances the brain. And very, very often the children say that the noise inside their head, and also some of them call it the cotton field, they feel that this noise is fading, and sometimes it goes away. Not in one session, but with more sessions. So here you can see the limbic system that I'm also working with a lot because of the fright and flight and traumas. The traumas we have is very often based on the limbic system and the fright and flight. And today we are going with fright and flight nearly every day, some of us at least. And it's really, really dangerous for the brain, because the amygdala in the brain that is saying, well, take care, go away, it really is there all the time. And the hippocampus that is going to save our memories and everything, it can shrink because of all the time the fright and flight. So we have to be aware to take care of our brain and solve it. But the good news is that it can also grow again, the hippocampus, if we use meditation and calming down and take it easy. So to work on the brain in many areas, that gives growth and daring to be yourself. And lateralizing the brain and coaching together give internal power. That's what I'm using in my clinic. So why did I do this pilot project? I did it to show how it is possible to help children and young people with medicines, to find their best inner self, their self-esteem, and the confidence when the brain is in balance. The noise inside their head and sometimes extreme, the noise inside their head and sometimes extreme unhappy negative feelings fades away, and they feel more and hold into their own personal power. And very often it is 1 or 2 sessions they feel different, and I think that's very great to see. Using these tools as a treatment, I want to show by this study how it is possible to treat the children, as I said, without medicines. The first session, when I work in my clinic, I have the first session for 90 minutes. I have the interview where I talk to the person, in this case, the child, also the parents, of course, but I always try to go to the child and look the child in the eyes, if it is possible to do it. If the child looks down and don't want to talk to me, I just go to the grown-up. And very often the child glimpses at me, and then the talk is coming from itself. So it's very nice to see how they open up, really. And I do the interview and then the poster and the posturology, where I put them in and see how they are standing, and I will tell you about it afterwards. And also I show them the brain. I have a brain in my office, and I show the brain and explain them how it works and how the brain stem is and everything, and they think that's really, really interesting. So for the next sessions, which is 60 minutes every time, I ask the children how they have been the last week, listening to them on how they have felt, if they have felt some different things and everything. I really talk a lot. I think it's very, very important to talk to the person. Using the DB machine, as I showed you, is treating the brain hemispheres and the 200 million axons that combines the hemisphere and the frequencies on the forehead back and forth, checking the posture that usually gets into balance. It's very strange to see that the body, it goes straight into position when I use this DB. Also showing the brain from the inside, telling how it may seem not in how telling how it may not seem to work optimal, explaining why, as almost all children finds it really funny. This also gives them an explanation, I think, of why they have the noise and or cotton feeling in their head, and how too much is impact their understanding and whys of their aggression or sadness. And what I found in my clinic is that they love to see the brain, and every time that, can I see the brain again? Can I see the brain again? Because I think it's so funny. So I think it's really, they get a new side of why they are having difficulties when they look at the brain. About the posturology, I'm checking the body's posture, and that means that I'm checking for imbalances in the body, how they stand, how they walk, and also checking their eyes. When I find imbalances, I try to get the source in the body to balance it from there. And I also talk about the importance of the posture for our emotions, because if you are very sad all the time, you get shrinked, and if you are very happy, you go like this. And if you feel really sad one day, you can really do like this, and then your posture will change immediately, and also your energies will change all around. So we are talking a lot about this, and you can use it with friends and with really, yeah, it's very funny how they use it afterwards. The light and frequency I use and the colors is red, green, and magenta. So why do I use these colors? In fact, I have been tried to change colors and try to make different colors, but in the end I ended up with these three. In first I use red, then green, and then magenta. And why I use them, that is why, because I think the grown-ups, but also the children, they like this a lot, and I have found that these three colors together, they do a lot of work with the body. And I always lay people on the red first, and as you can see, that this has to do with the symmetry and laterality. The stimulates the nerve fiber in the corpus callosum, which is very important. And it also works with the skills, language, and the mental health and concentration, which also is very important to these children, and the memory as well. With the green color, it works a lot on laterality and the open the hemispheres, and it harmonizes the body. I find that very many children love to lie on the green color. They tell me that. And I wondered about why. And if you think of the chakras in the body, the heart chakra is green. And I think that's very funny, because maybe that is, they feel that their chakra opens up, the heart chakra opens up. I don't know. But it's really funny to see how they love the green color. Also, the magenta is a very beautiful color to use. And always I'm closing every patient with the magenta color, grown-ups and children, and that is because I feel the magenta color is going very deep and is very, very relaxing. I had a beautiful lady who is blind, and many years ago I tried to change the color from one pink color to another one. And I took on the magenta without saying anything. And when I came back after 5 minutes, I put it on without saying anything. And when I came back, she said, "Have you done anything? Because I feel such a beautiful calmness in my body. And it goes so deep." So I called it the Christine color, because her name is Christine, and I called it the Christine color, and she felt really a big difference on the two colors. So I think that was very funny, because she couldn't see the color, and I didn't tell her I did it. So it's funny. So the storytelling from for my pilot project children. Nini, she was at that time 13 years old. She had an ADD, no self-esteem at all. She had much aggression, especially to her brother. And she said she felt very sad, and she had really nearly no friends at all. She was really unhappy. as a result of these sessions in my clinic, she opened up to friends. She got some friends. She stopped fighting with her brother at that level, and she wanted to go to school again because she didn't want to go to school. But now she wanted to go to school again, and she was much more relaxed and felt much more happy and content with herself. And she loved musicals, so she also played in 2 different theater musical roles, with which is her very biggest dream to be when she's a grown up. And I have been with her, and I heard her singing on the stage, and it was such beautiful to hear her and see her. She was smiling all over her face. And Nils, he was at that time a boy of 14 years. He was the only child in that family, and he had been going on Ritalin for 1 year, and they stopped it because he got really, really different, as we spoke about some minutes ago. He got really suicidal. He got deeply depressed. He hated school, and he had no friends at all. He wouldn't have friends, and he was very sad. And they stopped everything around him, hiding in his room and gaming and gaming. When they came to me, he wouldn't look at me at all. He just looked down, and he had his cap down here, and he had his sweater up here, and he wouldn't look at me at all. But what was happening the very first time he was there, he was trying to look at me more and more, and then he got a smile. After the first session, he smiled at me. And as a result of these sessions, he opened up his heart to his mother. He had really closed his heart to his mother, but he opened up, and he came out of his room that he had stayed in for months, and he wanted to eat again and talk with his parents again, and he got better off with some friends and got more friendly. And from the very beginning, he has been always so funny, and he had lost everything about that. But the funny guy came back, and as his mother said to me, quite early, she said to me, she wrote to me, and I started crying nearly because it was so beautiful. She said, "I got my funny old dear son back," and that was really touching, I think. So I have 2 more boys, 2 brothers. Willie is a boy of then 9 years at that time. He had autism, ADHD. He was shouting, aggressive, mean to his brother, showed no feelings at all, no empathy, no friends, very, very lonely. People around him was nearly scared at him, and he didn't want to shower, brush his teeth. He was just gaming. I know that in December he got the final diagnosis of autism and also ADHD and much more. So he was really sick in a way. But what he did, he started to calm down when he was with me, and he stopped his very hard vocabulary to his brother, and he stopped shouting, and he accepted showers and was more aware of being calmer. So it went out a little bit better. Sander, his little brother, just one year or 8 years then, he also have ADHD. And when he came to me the first time, he was knocking around everything. He knocked in the floor, in the walls, in my desk. He was yelling and shouting and running all over. And he was going like a rock star. And he said, "I want to be a rock star." And he was singing that. And at the same time, his mother told me he was bedwetting. He was so afraid of darkness. He was afraid to go to sleep by himself, and he wouldn't shower at all. And in December, at the same as his brother, he got an ADHD diagnosis. But what happened to him, he was all over the place. And when I saw him behind the mask, I call these children, because often you can see they hide behind their mask. And his mask was going crazy, because then he was seen at least. And what I saw he was very musical in all his things doing. So he ended up with buying some drums, buying me my son's drum kit in October. And the parents got totally amazed by his drum skills. Also, his teacher was really amazed, and he played. This was in October, and in December he was asked to play at school by Christmas. And here you can see and hear. So watch out, because now he will have a little drum session for you. So, as you can see, you can put chaos into really beautiful things. I think this is the really nice thing to listen to. I also have this little guy, Lasse. He came to me 2 years ago, and he had been using Ritalin since he was 3 years old and still is using it. But when he came to me, he was really sad and depressed. He was noisy. He had no friends at all and no use in living. He said to me, "I don't want to live." And he was 7 years old and said, "I don't want to live. I don't feel happiness. I'm not happy." But after the very first session he was at me, he said to me, when they were going, he was with his grandmother, and when they was going, he looked up at me and he said, "May I give you a hug, please?" And then his grandmother started crying, because this little boy had never ever in his life asked for a hug, and he wouldn't receive hugs. So she said, something has happened to his heart. And this little boy, he loves going into the green color and lying on the green color. And also he is amazingly kind. He's so beautiful, and he's so smart. And he is a game player, and he's really, really good in English because of the game. So when he's coming, we usually are talking English because he thinks that's so funny. This beautiful girl here, she came to me many years ago, and the first thing she was saying, "I don't want to live anymore. I just want to die." And what happened was that she had light, and she also had some needles, in fact. To make a long story very short, she now got her first baby boy some weeks ago. She's together with a beautiful guy, and the life is smiling to her really a lot. So she went to me for some sessions over some months and years, and she also stayed in my house for a few months just to recover and to talk and everything. And she is a beautiful soul, and she has a beautiful life now, and I'm so happy on it because of her. So this is my last case. This is one of the first children that came to me, and he was absolutely crazy. He knocked on all doors. He was really black in his eyes. He was really, really, really having a tough time, and he was 5 years old. After the very first session with just some light, the mother called me and said, "What on earth have you been doing to him? Because he feels so different, and he is so different." He went to me about 20 treatments for 2 years, and that is not really very much. And when he started school at 6 years old, he was such a beautiful person. He was helping the teacher from the very first day at school with the other pupils. And today he has a beautiful life. He is kickboxing or something. He has black belts and he is shining all the time. I talked to his mother yesterday, in fact, and she said everything was so great with him. And he's such a beautiful person. And just by light and some passion of being seen, he changed completely. Yesterday, I got this newspaper in my post from a mother that I know of 2 children that has been with me, and she said that our very biggest paper had come with this message here, and that was great news from a study in Australia. And one of the largest newspapers here presented this study in Australia about light and children with ADHD. And the conclusion was clear that daylight at 100,000 lux is brilliant and may seem to work and influence the brain in some of the same way as ADHD medicine. I think that is great news. So for me as a light worker, looking at light and frequencies as our new medicine, I feel thrilled to read such news of light. I think it's very, very funny. So for the last things, the moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your body. I think that's great words by Bruce Lipton. That is an amazing person. Because my new study that I started last week is about girls from 16 to 26. And I have got 8 girls because I don't want to have many. I want very much time for each and one of them. They are going to have 4 sessions altogether of 75 minutes just by light therapy and also coaching. And of course traumas, because many of these young ladies, they have traumas to deal with. So my vision for this is to give them strength in their lives and make them believe they are worthy and finding their own truth. As I told you, the hippocampus can shrink, and if we go all the time feeling that we are so unbalanced in our brain and fight, flight all the time, that is very, very not good for none of us, and especially for young people, because I think it makes a lot to them by not showing up, not feeling good, not being good enough, and all these things they are looking at every day. I will not have a talk about social media, but I have to mention it because I think that's a great deal of why young people have so many problems. It's very good to have social media, but it is also a threat to young people because they are compare each other and they look at things, and it's very important with likes and all these things, and the TikTok and Instagram and all these things. I think it is not good at all the time. So I think it's very important to think, be careful how you talk to yourself, because you are listening. These children, they are comparing each other. They are thinking everyone is much more worthy than me. I'm not good enough. I'm not beautiful enough, and all these things. And maybe we should change and learn young people and also ourselves as grown-ups to be critical and compassionate and tell, dear me, I choose a new inner voice. How would that be? I think it would be great, because every time we do something we have not done before, we will make new neurons in the brain, and that is really true. So if we could be nice and more good to ourselves, it would be very good for all of us. When I'm coaching, I have my hero here, Tony Robbins. I've been following him for very, very many years. And I think his way of looking at people, telling people, seeing people, lifting people, I think it's a beautiful way of working. And so I use his methods that he has learned from Erik Erikson, who was a German psychologist. So I think it's so very, very important to lift people instead of telling them what has happened in the past, because the past has gone and we cannot do anything about it. But what we can do, we can lift ourselves, we can put new goals into our life, and we can reach out for the stars. And I think so many have the opportunity to do that if they get some tools to do it. And that is what I'm working on in my clinic. I give persons tools to lift themselves, because it's up to us to do it. We cannot help other people if they won't be helped. So the mind is really, really important, and what we put into our mind. And if we create coherence between beliefs and reality, we will be there, because the mind doesn't know if it's true or is it false. It doesn't know. So it's a kind of funny way of thinking that we can fake it until we make it. My hope for this study is that you should believe in you. Help each other, help each one by light treatment and coaching to believe in themselves, change their biochemistry and not get sick. Change their inner self-talk from negative to positive, being aware. Make them follow their inner dreams and going through life with dignity and pride. And be a person of light and never ever dimming their own light. Get them to trust their inner voice and stand in their power, in their own power. So to see their own greatness is really important for me, and that is for children, it is for young grown-ups, and it is for adults. It's for everybody, in fact. Happiness should be for everyone. Look at these faces, so nice. To say to yourself every day, I am important, I am happy, I am beautiful, I am great, I am hardworking, full of love and understanding. I think that's really important to be a happy person. And so this is the finish. Every day, in 100 small ways, our children ask us, do you see me? Do you hear me? Do I matter? And our children's behavior often reflects our own response. So with these pictures of my beautiful grandchildren, 2 of them, I will thank you and tell my dream that is opening up these children of now is really, really important for me. And we cannot help all, I know that, but I know we can help many children of now, that I call them. So thank you so much for your attention, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Anne. That was fantastic. And if you're still all right to go for a little bit longer, we've got a few questions that have come in.
Yeah.
You can answer them briefly if you like, just as you wish. If anyone's got further questions that they're thinking of now, just pop it into the chat bar down the bottom. I'll start with one of the first ones. So is it true that children become addicted to Ritalin? If you had to wean a child off Ritalin, how would you do it?
You know, I am not a doctor at all, and I respect that the doctors put children into medicine. I said that as well, and some people have to go into it. And you should never, ever stop going off medicine without talking to your doctor. That's rule number 1. And I never, ever interfere. When a child is going into Ritalin, I never, ever discuss it, because that's a doctor's job. But what I see is that you can help the child, even if the little boy on the green light, he has been going into Ritalin since he was 3 years old. And the doctor say, and the father says, he has to do that. And that is okay. But what I have experienced without my interference at all. That is that when some of the children have gone into these sessions of light and coaching, they have been going down on the Ritalin. And I think that's very interesting. But I never, ever interfere with the doctors. I think that's absolutely
excellent.
my piece of task. No.
Can you also explain a little bit about the DB machine, which you mentioned earlier on in your talk?
Yeah, that is 2 frequencies in this one. And when you put that on the head, I'm not an engineer, so I cannot really say it, but it has 2 wavelengths inside it, and it's 2 buttons. And when you put on the 2 buttons, I don't know exactly what is happening, but it seems that the brain is saying, oh, that was nice, thank you. I feel that, and you can see it in the eyes of people that someone is saying, wow, this is very special. And for those who have been with me for many years or coming to get this one, they get, oh, you have forgotten this one. If they haven't got it before they go, if I have forget to give it, they say, oh, what about this little machine? You have to give me that before I leave. So it does something, but I know it is what do you call it? It's wavelengths that you put on here to balance the brain.
Excellent. Maybe it's got near infrared. I know near infrared penetrates deeply. Okay. And the other question was, do you use the DB machine directly on the head and the body, or do you just hold it some distance away from the head?
You use here, not in the eyes, but I'll do very calmly around like this.
So it doesn't sit on the skin, on the head itself. It's a little distance away, a few centimeters.
Yeah. I don't know, I use it different than many others do, but that's what I found out myself, that it really is beautiful in doing this. And I think it's so easy and so not dangerous at all. And I think it does something. I had a baby many years ago, and there were twins, and the mother came to me, and the girl, they were about 4 or 5 months, I don't remember exactly, but the girl, she didn't manage to lift her head at all. And the mother, she called me and she said, could you please try to look at her, because they really feel something is very wrong with her. And she came, and I used just this one. And 2 days later, she said, you know, when we came home, the daughter had lifted her head. And they never got that time at the consultant to see if anything was wrong. So it does something.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
I have another question. I think it's to do with this particular method. There's quite a bit of interest about it. Is the light scanned left to right, a few centimetres either side of the centre of the forehead, and how fast is the movement?
It is from here to there. It doesn't matter if you start here or there, but you do like this, and you do it not this one, but quite calm, like this.
Okay.
Yeah. And what I always is doing when children come to me, after I have been treating the children, I say, do you want to treat your mother or your father? And then they get this one and they do this, and they think it's very funny to treat their mother or father. So it just to tell them there is no danger with this. It's funny.
And it's mostly on the forehead.
On the forehead. On the forehead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have another question. Can the Roxeva lamp be used for the same or similar purpose? Is there a specific Roxeva program for this type of therapy? Are you familiar with that one? Roxeva?
Roxeva, I don't know what that is. Roxeva?
Okay. That question is from Sandy Hollins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is either.
No.
But maybe, yeah. Okay. Another question.
So it's like a newer version of the Lucia light.
Okay.
It's a different maker, or but it's that sort of idea. But
excellent.
Okay.
So it's a frequency light with your eyes closed.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
No, I don't know really. Sorry.
Okay. That's fine. And another question. I noticed you had the limbic area in the ear marked in one of your slides. Do you always do this area in your sessions for children?
No, not always. But because young children, I don't use it so much. But with young adults and teens and grown-ups, of course, I use it very much, because we all have traumas in one way or the other. And for young ladies that and teens that are with me now in the new project, all of them have traumas, deep traumas, really. And then I use it, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I also have an exercise called the theater stage, as I call it, that I have learned from a shaman in Norway. And those two things are going so well together, because you can talk to the person that have done you something wrong, or a bad boss or colleague or something. You can put them on the stage and you can talk to them and do something, and then get rid of the energy. It's a kind of energy work, and together with the trauma that I have learned from Theraliling and Raphael Nogier. They made this together, and Theraliling, the doctor in Argentina, he has been really doing a lot on it. And he's brilliant in this work, and it's so great to do it, really, and it's so easy. You just put a pencil on the ear, just doing like this, finding the big the most bad point, and then you use light or just a thing like this to put.
What is that?
Yeah, it's a pen. It's a pen, or you can use a real light, and you use that, and the trauma gets more. It will not disappear like this, but it will go down, and you can look at it. You can look at it in another from another point of view then. So it doesn't hurt you that much, that you feel so much anger or so much frustration and sadness, but you can look at it in another view and think, well, maybe this can learn me something, because I'm so really aware of everything we experience in our life. We can take it, look at it on the opposite side and think, maybe I have learned something from this thing or from this person. I think that's really valuable to learn people, because I don't think people could think of it that way. And that I do in the trauma session.
Excellent. So you're actually counselling people or getting people to relive their difficult experience while you're stimulating that limbic zone with either light or a pen.
Because the limbic zone is where we have the feelings and where our feelings is hiding. And so many people, they are so turned down by other people or by experiences they have had or anything. And if you can do that so easy, instead of going for hours and hours and hours to talk about it, why shouldn't you? Because it's really fantastic too.
That's excellent. I've got a question here. I think you actually answered part of it with one of your slides, but it was asked before. Do the children need follow-up treatments, or do they stay stabilised after the work you've done with them?
For me, I so much had wanted the children to follow up. But in this society, we have no time for anything. So what usually happens is that they buy 6 or 12 treatments, and then they disappear. And some of them, of course, some of them are coming, and then I say, I want you to come once a month. And what is once a month? It's next to nothing in my point of view. So I think if people could stay for 1 year, once a month, the body, because we are treating a body, and I don't think people think that we are a body. We just treat, and we think we should be very, very not sick at this very quick. But the body has to use time to recover and to get new inputs into the head, so that it would be great to have once a month. And some do it, but very many, they stop after the sessions.
Okay. And how about counselling your children in the wise use of social media and phones and technology as part of your program? You did mention that. Do you actually weave that into your treatment plan?
No, if I talk about it or if I do something? If that's part of your yes,
work.
I talk to young people. I talk about the social media, but not that this is dangerous, not in that direction. But often they tell themselves that they go into Instagram or the new, what they call it, TikTok or whatever it's called, and they go into blogs, and they see how really happy all other people are, because people are standing there like, wow. And as I say, they are not like that, because I know some bloggers, in fact, and I had bloggers in my clinic, and they have been really not very happy. So we are just human beings. If you are a queen, or if you are a princess, or if you are a lawyer, if you are a nurse, we are the same. So we have our days, ups and downs, all of us. So it's so really, really important to tell young people that life is not smiling all the time, but we should be that strong that we can take our things that are coming to in our daily life with brave and with dignity, and with welcome them as solutions.
Excellent, thank you. I've got another interesting question here. Do you know anything about the liquid crystals in the brain? And perhaps this fact, if true, could help with the colour and lighting healing. That's from Jane.
Yeah, no, I haven't worked with that.
Okay, and he adds to that the liquid crystals specifically in the pineal gland. Maybe that's we're actually hoping to have a webinar with Jane. Jane does some very interesting work with mathematics and sacred geometry. Yes. And obviously this must be your area, Jane, so maybe you can bring this into a future webinar for us and instruct us. That would be great. So someone is saying, hi Anne, thank you for your sharing your passion and experience. You do it very well, and I have to leave. And that was Caroline. And we've got another thank you. Thank you so much for telling and showing us about your profession. It was wonderful to listen and learn, and a big hug from Valdres, I think that is. And I think that's it for our questions. So we'll wrap it up there. I think you've done a really great job in presenting really valuable information and food for thought for us all to follow up on. If we wanted to find out more about your work or some of the tools that you're using, is there a website or email address that you could share with our listeners that they could contact you or find out?
I think the website are on the page now. If you look on the page down.
Oh yes, we've got it down there. And there's a way to contact you through email via that website, I assume?
And I have Facebook, and I have Instagram, and I have everything, the social media. Yes, so it's just to call me. I would be delighted to stay in contact. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Anne. I know you've got some work this afternoon. You're going into the clinic. It's still morning there for you.
Yes, it is. So thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to come.
Indeed, for us as well. And we'll be doing the recording and putting it out to the world for you so we can spread your word.
Thank you.
All right. Blessings to you.